Hello, eighth grade. So you want to go to high school. All right, well, chances are you're going to have to take the HSPT or the ISEE. So per Mr. Rendell's email, if you are applying to a parochial school, you will be taking the HSPT on January 7th. That's your O'Dowds, your St. Mary's, your St. Joe's, and so on. If you're applying to independent schools, well, it kind of depends on which schools you're applying to. Some want it. Some want to give you an option between taking the ISEE and a writing sample. Some don't want it at all. So look at the specific schools you're applying to if they're independent and see what their requirements are. But I am here to tell you a little bit about mostly the HSPT, how you can prepare, what it looks like, and things like that, so you feel somewhat prepared going in. All right. So the HSPT is the high school placement test. It is for the parochial schools. The ISEE is the independent school entrance exam. You might have taken it if you applied to Redwood Day, actually. Again, most schools don't want that anymore, but there are some schools that still do want that, or a timed writing sample or things like that. So look into that if you're applying to independent schools. All right, the HSPT. So again, it's for parochial high schools. It is a 2.5-hour test. There are 298 multiple choice questions. That's kind of a lot, but it goes quick. It's broken down into 5 categories. You'll get breaks and things like that. The 5 sections are verbal, quantitative, reading, math, and language. So really similar to like your ERB. It's going to have a similar feel, kind of a similar format. So here, I have an example for each category. So verbal, and advisors, feel free to pause the video because I'm going to give the answer pretty much after I'm done reading the question. But if you want to pause it and give people a chance to answer it, and you can see if you know it as well. This one I did not know, I'll be honest. Okay. Youth is to young as age is to, what is it? I guess there's like a subject adjective or something like that, or noun adjective, maybe relationship here. So the answer is, in fact, D, old, because old is the adjective and age is the adjective. So yeah, there's that one. Ask Miss Masonica. Quantitative, so this is mathy. All right, so everybody take a look at this if you can figure this one out. Look at the series 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, 11. So these are patterns, right? So you want to think about kind of what you're seeing in between the numbers, what number should come next. Feel free to pause the video. Here's what's happening. First, we're adding 1, then we're multiplying by 2, then we're adding 1, then we're multiplying by 2, then we're adding 1, then we're multiplying by 2. Therefore, the correct answer is in fact A, 22. Okay, reading example. Choose the word that means the same or about the same as the underlined word. To be elated. To be elated. Go ahead and pause the video if you want. The answer is, in fact, happy. I hope you are all elated right now to be watching this video and to be taking the HSPT soon, if you are. Next one, mathematics example. The square root of 198 is between. So this is not one where you have to actually do any math, right? So if you want to pause it, go ahead. But ultimately, you don't have to even know square roots that well, except to just have a general sense of what it means, right? So the square root of 198 could not be these really big ones because the square root represents a number that's been squared, right? 100 squared is 10,000. So we're not even close on that. So it can't be these two. Then we're to these two. And then just find the number that looks the easiest to you, right? Like 20 squared, 20 times 20 is 400. So that's still way too high. So I know it's not going to be A either. So it's D. Okay, the square root of, or 14 squared is 196, and 15 squared is 225. So the square root of 198 is between those two. And this, I'm going to talk more about strategies later on, but this reinforces the strategy of keep it simple, right? Like you don't actually have to do any math on a lot of the math ones. You just have to kind of think about what makes the most sense. Okay, and your language example. Look for errors in capitalization, punctuation, or usage. If you find no mistake, choose option D. A, are you coming to my birthday party? B, the first snow fell on Sunday, October 27th. C, Jack's father drove us to the movies. D, no mistakes. And the correct answer is B, because you need a comma after Sunday. I knew that. Okay, so in terms of preparing for the HSPT, there's kind of a do's and a don'ts. I went to a seminar on this a few years ago, hosted at St. Mary's College High School. So here are some things that you could do if you wanted to prepare for the HSPT. You could review old content, like your 6th and your 7th grade math and English content. You know, your commas, your number sense, your probabilities, you know, things like that that you might have forgotten about. You can go back and review that content. You can get a practice book. I'm going to show you one that I recommend at the end of this video. Spread out your studying. If you are going to study, don't wait until like the weekend before or the night before, right? Spread it out. So that it doesn't feel so overwhelming. Maybe say you're going to spend 30 minutes Saturday, a 30-minute Sunday, every weekend until January. I don't know, however you want to do it. And then the day of the test is where it's really the most important. To get plenty of sleep the night before, eat a good breakfast. Those are some of the most important things you could do to prepare for the test. And then use good strategies, which I'll talk about in a minute. Some don'ts. Don't try to learn a bunch of new content. You're taking the HSPT in January. You finish your math instruction in June. You are not going to learn an extra 6 months of math instruction before January. So don't try to learn a whole bunch of new stuff that's not yet taught. Don't try to cram. Don't stress out about it. Ultimately, you don't have a ton of control over how you're going to do, right? So be prepared if you can, get good sleep, eat a good breakfast, do the best you can, and then it's out of your control. So just don't stress out about it. It's one of many, many things that high schools look at in terms of acceptances. Don't stay up all night the day before. Again, get good sleep. And do not leave questions blank. Do not leave questions blank. You are not penalized for incorrect answers, right? It's just like a sum of how many you got right. So what you should do is answer every question, okay? So that's the first test taking strategy. Don't leave anything blank. If it's blank, it's wrong, okay? So you might as well guess, right? If there are 5 possible answers, you got a 25% chance of guessing correctly, unless you are able to first eliminate answers, right? So that's one good test taking strategy. If there are 4 answers and you can eliminate 1 or 2 of them, you just increase your odds right there, all right? Skip and return, right? So if you feel like you're spending too long on one problem, time management is one of the biggest things on these tests. So just keep track of time. Don't spend too long on any one problem. Skip it and come back to it. And my last suggestion is to keep it simple, right? Kind of show with that math problem. You don't have to always do a whole bunch of work to figure out what the correct answer is. If you take 10 seconds and just kind of think critically about what the question is asking and what the possible answers are, it might lead you to the correct answer with very minimal work being done. I mentioned a good resource book. This is one that was recommended to me at that seminar that I was referencing earlier. It is the Peterson's Guide to Mastering the Catholic High School Entrance Exam. I actually have a copy in my room if you want to see it. Feel free to pop by. But that is kind of the general overview and some general test taking strategies. I do suggest, if you feel like you do want to prepare for the HSPT, get one of those books. They're fairly inexpensive. There's like 5 or 6 practice tests in each book, and strategies, and just start working through those. You can find practice stuff online as well, but it's a lot harder because companies want to kind of monetize that. They don't want to give it away for free. So get a book and just start practicing. Start early. Test taking is a skill like anything else. So the more you practice it, the better you're going to feel about it and the more comfortable you're going to be. I happen to love standardized tests for math. So if you are working through some math problems in your practice book and you want to come ask me how to do something, just come by. And I'm sure Miss Masonic would say the same thing about English. Right, Miss Masonic? Okay, that's it. Thanks.